someone be saved after they No, they can't.
Hello, everybody. This is Big Bill coming to you live from Model Railroading Live, the number one model railroading show in the universe, if not the world. I am Big Bill, and this is Who's Big Bill talking to tonight on March 31st, 2021. To all of our Jewish friends out there, a happy Passover this week. To you and your family and to your loved ones. And we're coming up on Easter. It's just around the clubhouse turn. So that's it. Happy Easter to all of everyone out there. I hope you enjoy your holiday weekend, and holiday, remember, it's Resurrection Sunday. Resurrection Sunday. Amen and amen. Michael Conley's here. Hello, all. Hi, Bill. Eric Hall's here. Dan Cohen is here. Robert Holloman is here. John Benicki is here. Hello, Grandpa Rails. Should have named my channel to everyone. Yes. Shalom. That's it. Anyway, today is the 31st, the last day of March. Goes out like a lamb, out like a lion, and April comes in like a lamb. Anyway, glad that the sea would turn in the corner on the weather, and everything's going to get a little warmer, I hope, and everything. We have a special guest tonight on our show. He's sitting in the off stage there, eating the. I think John went out and purchased some gasoline station sushi. That's what I think it was. The last time we got chicken, though, from the gasoline station, it didn't sit too well with our guests, so maybe the sushi will do good. Anyway, before we bring our guest out, I just want to go over a few things. Number one, Model Railroading Live now has a Patreon page, so please feel free to go to patreon.com/Model Railroading Live if you want to donate or get into the ongoing program. $2, $5, $10 a month. I myself joined tomorrow. They'll be taking out money, so I'm actually paying myself. I don't understand that, but we do have a Patreon page, and by all means, please feel free to keep this going. On April 7th and the 21st, we're going to have Johnny's Train Talk show. His show will be in at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All our shows are 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when they air. And Johnny's Train Talk show will be on April 7th and then again on April 21st. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to run and write that on your calendar if you got a crayon or a marker or something. So go right, April 7th and the 21st. I'll wait. Okay, I'm sure you got it, right? Okay, good. So Johnny's Train Talk show, that's where you guys, and you know the spiel here, and I don't know why you guys don't take advantage of this, that you guys should come in. If you got an internet and you got a camera on your laptop or what do you call it, webcam, come on in. Join the party. It's good. Guys talking about model railroading. It's off the cuff. It's all good. It's all model railroaders enjoying and having a good time. So come on down. What else do we got on the nothing? Blank. What can I tell you? Anyway, without further ado, I don't want to take any more of your time up without this guest. This is a young man who's been involved in model railroading and actually been doing videos since he's been 12 years old. 12 years old. Not bad, huh? And now he has a channel. It's called TheSteamKing. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our good friend Clint Brantley.
Mr. Bill, appreciate being here. Sushi was, I gotta say, not bad. I was expecting it to be a lot worse, but you know what? I'll take it. I'll take what I can get in these conditions. So
was it? Well, we have a budget. We do have a budget. It's you know, it's $1.99. But we got a budget. But, you know, John had to run out because he was running around all day, and he stopped at the local Sam's gas station there, and he saw it in I think it was the last one. there. I don't know if it had an expiration date on it, but hey,
We'll find out tomorrow.
well, hey, you know what I say? If it's free, it's for me.
There you go.
So we try to accommodate our guest in any way possible. Anyway, Clint, it's so good to have you on the show. You have a channel called TheSteamKing.
Yes, sir.
Now, you've been doing videos since you've been 12 years old.
Well, yeah. I've been kind of doing them a little longer than that. I always had an interest for film. But it was 12 years old when I did my first YouTube channel. It was called Gear Grinder 12, and it was a Transformer channel because I was into Transformers action figures. And so when the movies came out and were, huge blockbuster hits, it was all of a sudden cool to be a nerd. So a lot of us nerds decided to go out and, try to do Transformer reviews and stuff. But that only lasted so long. And as I got a little older, 2 years later, I decided to go full blast into model trains and kind of share my collection online. And that's when I started the channel that was known as Railroad Kid 1937.
Now, Railroad Kid 1937 was just based on what was that based on?
So the name Railroad Kid 1937, it came from kind of three things. So one, I was a kid, so I kind of threw that in there. The year 1937 had significance for two reasons. My favorite steam locomotive was a New York Central Hudson, and that was the year it was built. But it also doubled as the year my grandfather was born. And my grandfather and I were really into the hobby together, and that's 90% of the reason why I love steam locomotives. So.
Oh, that's cool. So you're a steam enthusiast.
Oh, enthusiast is an understatement, but yes.
Really?
Someone call me a steam apologist, but that's a whole other story.
A steam apologist. Now the original title of was the Steam Kid 1937, but people can find you under the Steam King, and that's spelt the way it says on the screen, all squished together, right?
Yes, sir. The way my name is spelled down here, that's how people can find my channel. It's not case sensitive. And then you might find me under my old channel name, which was Railroad Kid 1937. So right. Either way, it'll pull me up, but the channel name will come up as the Steam King.
So Eric Hall, IMRRO wants to know, what are you, 14 now?
Actually, I just hit my 15th birthday last week. No, I'm 26 as of February 2nd. So
February 2nd, 26. Well, happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So now you've been doing this, and like you said, your grandfather, was he a model railroad enthusiast, or was he like a rail fan type of a guy?
It's how do I say this? It's kind of weird because he just loved trains, but when I was born, he fully had a chance to enjoy it. He always used to tell me when, his kids never cared about anything that he was interested in, but it was weird when I came along, when he found out that I loved trains, that's what got him back into it. So he did everything he could to just fuel my love of railroading. So right. Growing up, he never really had any model trains himself. He always told me the story of, I think it was for his 10th birthday, his parents got him a little plastic train and he wanted a Lionel, but the plastic train smelled real bad and it was ran by batteries and he never really liked it. And he said he probably threw it away after a while. But outside of that, he never had any trains, but he loved steam locomotives. He loved the Santa Fe. The Santa Fe was our favorite railroad.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
That was good. Well, you got to remember 1937. That was approximately around when my dad was born too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a kid looking at I forget how I got my hands on it, but it was a Lionel book. Mm-hmm. It had all the Lionel trains in it. Yeah. And we had my mother's sister. How can I explain this? My mother's sister, my Aunt Kathleen, her husband's family lived in a big house. It was a five-story brownstone, and on the top floor, their youngest son, he lived up on the top floor, and he had a tremendous Lionel layout up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we would go up there as kids, we would play with it, and we would go and play. And I remember, I think I got the book from him, and I wanted my dad to buy me a Lionel set. And he was like, he looked at the price. I think it was like $60 to get a complete set at that time back in
Mm-hmm.
whatever 1963, 64.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What are you kidding me, kid? That's too much money. I can't buy that for you. What are you gonna do with it? It's strange. You're gonna put it in the closet."
Mm-hmm.
So, but so I can imagine your grandfather's, disappointment when he didn't get the train 37 to 47. That was just after the war.
Mm-hmm. That was the golden age of model trains.
Yeah, Lionel. That's when the servicemen were coming back, and
Mm-hmm.
and they Lionel was producing. But yeah. So that's good. And then did he direct you in that way, or did you naturally come that way?
What do you mean? With
Something?
just in model trains in general, or
Yeah, just in trains in general. Did he like say, "Hey, Clint, let's go. We're gonna go
so
rail
here? So here's the thing: we never really. No one even knows why I got into trains, which is the weird thing, right? It just kind of happened one day. One of my earliest pictures that was ever taken of me was actually with a little plastic train in my hand as like a 4-month-old.
Yeah.
But when I got to be about 2 years old is when I transitioned from liking trucks to trains.
Right.
And my mom, we go to the library every weekend, and she would get me I Love Toy Trains, Thomas the Tank Engine. And then what really did it, was the nail on the head, was Trains Unlimited. So that was an old, I don't know if you remember it, but that was an old TV series that the History Channel had. And it was Christmas Eve. My grandfather stayed up all night and taped the entire marathon of Trains Unlimited. And the next morning, Christmas morning, I woke up and we watched like a 6-hour marathon. He had it all taped. I watched the whole. I mean, I tell you, to this day, I will run that tape back that he recorded. I still have it. But to kind of further answer the question, yeah, he from that point on, once we kind of knew, okay, like he likes trains. My grandfather, we used every weekend we would go to the train yard. And he had this big van. I still have it. It's a Ford Econoline.
Right.
And he would take me in there, and we get pepperoni sticks and the Cheetos and a little thermos full of Kool-Aid or something. We go down to the train yard and we watch the trains, go by. And so the engines would, the switchers would get the manifest set up, get all the cars set up, and then we'd see, 4 or 5 engines back down onto the train. And then we wait until they start leaving the yard. He's like, okay, time to go. And so what we would do is we would race down to the set of crossing gates that was about 2.5, 3 miles out from the train yard. And what he would do is we'd beat the train there. We'd go across the gates. He'd hit a U-turn and go into this little tree that was near the tracks that had shade in it. And we'd eat the pepperoni sticks until the gates started coming down. And he'd hurry and drive to the front of the gates. And we'd be right there at the front of the gates when the train would come by. And I'd just be shaking as a little kid because the train was so big and loud. So
right.
So yeah, he definitely he encouraged that for sure.
That is a great story. That really is. That truly is a great story. And having that experience with your grandfather. Trains Unlimited, Eric Hall says, I have some sort of a box set from that on a VCR tape.
Oh yeah.
Michael Conley wants to know, was that the show with the weatherman from Good Morning America? Wilfred. I know which one. Wilfred. It might have been.
No, the gentleman that voiced that series, the first few, I forget the gentleman's name, but he voiced a lot of cartoon characters that I grew up watching. But they had a few different voice actors, a few different narrators for the show, but it was just a really. Oh wait, I know who you're talking. You're talking about Tracks Ahead. That's what he's referring to as Tracks Ahead. Trains Unlimited was before Tracks Ahead. So this Tracks Ahead was like early to mid 2000s. Trains Unlimited was like mid 90s when that came out. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You still have the van?
Oh yeah. I'm actually gonna get it fixed up this year. So
what color is it?
It's a unique color. It's tan and blue. And it's a party van, and it's got blue carpeting in it and all sorts of custom lights and stuff. It's wild. So,
yeah, that is. It wasn't Mike Rowe. No, Mike Rowe was much later. No, it wasn't Mike Rowe from Somebody's Got to Do That.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you transitioned. So now you've been in. Now you're a you're a tween, not a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
still adolescent, 12, 11 years old. You
Yeah.
discover videos, you discover YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and you start making YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
on the Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
And you seem to be a kid that seems to know his general cultural audience. You knew when Transformers was fading out. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of like went with it, rode the string out basically, and then you became controversial at the age of 12, 13.
I've always been controversial.
I know. We saw that sexism in model railroading and train modeling is addictive as cocaine.
Yes.
So, and that's how old?
That video, I think that video was is like 7 or 8 years old. The thing is, so here's the deal.
Yeah. Tell me the deal. Give me the deal, Clint. Give me the
So
deal that a 12, 13-year-old would have and know what sexism is in model railroad.
so so a couple of things. So first of all, transitioning from
Excuse me. Split Rock 323 says cocaine is a lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper, but trains will keep you a lot healthier. Let me tell you that.
That's true. That's true. Let's get that disclaimer out there right away. Yeah.
So here's the thing. When I was doing the YouTube videos when I was 12, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was a good testing ground. It taught me how to edit. It taught me how to figure out different video topics, and it taught me how to be resourceful. So I basically, how Transformer videos were done back in the day is kind of how the train videos are done now. I'm surprised, honestly, I didn't think to do train reviews and bring that over from my experience of Transformers. But basically, people would take like a particular Transformers action figure, right? And they would hold it up and they'd tell you the history of the character, and then they would transform it on screen and then talk a little bit more about it and transform it back. And then that was kind of how it went, right? I had a few videos like that, but I wasn't really gaining any traction or popularity from it. But what I did do is I played around with a couple of train videos on my Transformer channel, and I noticed that was getting more responses than the Transformer videos were. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to like do Transformers and trains together on one channel because that's kind of confusing. Why don't I just transition purely over to trains? And I was kind of moving away from Transformers also. So I decided, I'm like, I'm just gonna go full blast with model railroading and just see what happens. At the time, a couple of the channels that inspired me were Eric Siegel, who does a lot of the O scale reviews, and then also James Wright, of course, who I interviewed on my channel a couple of weeks ago, or last week, excuse me. Those two are like the two main influences that I had, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to do something like them, but I don't really have any trains to review, so I've got to come up with other topics. Like I got to come up with other things to do because they're 12, I'm at this point 14, 15 years old. I can't really buy, $300 models. I'm not making that much money. So what I did was I'm like, well, why don't I just like talk about stuff? And podcasting wasn't a thing back then, but it was kind of the basis for it in a way. It was kind of me crafting that skill. But what I did was I'm like, well, let me just find different things to talk about in the hobby. And one of the videos that I did was I went online and I went looking for something controversial. I wanted to see if anyone was talking smack about model railroading. So I went on Google and I typed in something, and up came an article that said model railways promote sexism and are as addictive as cocaine. And I started reading and I was like, what is this trash? And I was like, okay, why not make a YouTube video on it? So I just opened up my laptop, turned the camera on, read it on screen, and just started commentating over it. And so that's what I did at the time to kind of compensate for not having the money to actually afford models. So.
Right. But then you've continued on your podcast, right? You've continued to, from the recent podcasts and videos that I've seen, you're not one to shy away from subjects that, that would otherwise, like you've gotten, criticized for coming down on manufacturers and basically not, what's the best way I can say this? Not kowtowing to the company line. I mean, you've been, transformed and doing that kind of stuff as well. But I don't think that what I've seen, I have to say before you know, add to this, is I haven't seen you been derogatory or disrespectful to manufacturers or to people who produce or make equipment detail stuff for the hobby. You've just been asking them to bring their game up a little.
Right. So there were a couple of times, especially when I was younger, where I've said some things in retrospect. People have brought things back to my attention. I'm like, I said that? Really? That's hilarious. But there have been a couple things that I've said where it's like, it's somewhat derogatory. But mainly my focus is I try to be as respectful as possible. I fall short from time to time, of course. But really, I have respect for all manufacturers. And that's the thing I want people to understand, is that when I'm critiquing something, one, I'm coming from I try to throw satire or humor in when I'm critiquing something is the first thing, to make it interesting, to make it entertaining. But the second thing that I try to do is I try to be real. I try to be down to earth. I don't phone anything in. And if I feel that something can be done better, or if I'm comparing two products that are competing, I want to explain why I think one product is better than the other. Now,
Sure.
some people think that, oh, well, you need to be appreciative for what you have. You need to appreciate the hard work that goes into something. And that's fine. I can appreciate the hard work, but it reminds me of something my granddad taught me once again when I was 6, which I tried out for a basketball team when I was 6 years old.
Right.
And I knew once the tryouts were over that I probably wasn't going to make the team. And so I came back home and I was talking to him like, yeah, well, I tried my hardest. And my grandfather said, well, your hardest wasn't good enough. If your hardest isn't good enough, that doesn't matter.
Right.
That's the thing. Hard work gets you a ticket to the game, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win. And that's the same attitude that I try to bring when I do these critiques. It's like, listen, you might have an awesome product, but if somebody else is doing something 10 times better than you, that needs to be addressed, and you need to step your game up. That's why the market, like model trains, has evolved to the place that it's in. 15, 20 years ago, we were just happy to have sound in trains. Now it's getting to the point where people are like, oh, well, why doesn't this train sound like the prototype? We would have never thought to even ask that, back in the early 2000s, because we were just so excited at the fact that, wow, a train can make sound. That's insane,
And the fact that you can run a train on your iPhone.
Oh God, yeah, I was impressed when I figured out I could do that. That was great.
Split Rock 323 asks, "What's the name of the podcast?"
It's my podcast. The name of it is the Steam Live Stream Podcast. And the last episode that I did is with James Wright, JLWI 2000. And it's about a 2-hour long podcast, but we go into a lot of things. And it was a fantastic interview. James was very nice and very gracious to spend his time with me that Saturday. So
yes, I saw the interview in its entirety. It was it was a side of James Wright that I had never seen before. So it was a good interview. It was a good interview. You. So, but in regards, what is it that you hope to accomplish with these podcasts in these, besides like bringing down bringing down major corporations to no, I mean, what is it that you want to accomplish, that they bring a better product to the people?
There's a few different things that I want to accomplish. I want to be able to have a platform where people, whoever I bring on, can express their thoughts freely, right? Who can give their opinions unrestricted about a particular product or a particular manufacturer, because those conversations bring about progress. They bring about change. They bring about innovation, right? But on top of that, in the context of like the interview I did with James, I want people to see and to learn things that maybe aren't necessarily model train related from big names in the hobby. Because here's the thing that I've learned from being a member of a club to starting this YouTube channel and meeting awesome people over the internet. Is the advantage of being a young person in this hobby is that there are so many older people around you. They've lived so much life and have learned so much stuff outside of model trains. You need to pick their brain and see how they think about other things. And those things, quite frankly, tie into your hobby as well if you apply them. But really, it's just, I want people to be able to learn and grasp things from people who they might respect from the model railroad community as well. So
No. Well, if you were going to pick my brain, Clint, you'd be slim pickings and you'd be very hungry. Anyway, Frank DeLauro has said, Bill, you need one of those mics that Clint has.
oh, this fancy sucker. Yeah, I can even mute it by touching it. I'm back in.
And it changes colors too. Well, my friend Frank DeLauro, he likes things that are bright and shiny. You know?
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, he gets memorized. I just want to say one thing. I've known Frank for over 30 years, and I want to say this publicly, and I want to say it on air and live. Frank DeLauro is one of my bestest buddies in the whole wide world. He truly is a good friend, a good guy to have in your corner. And whenever you need anything, he's the guy you can pick the phone up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He may not show up, but at least he'll listen. And I just want to show that. Eric Hall says, older people. Wait a minute. I'm not older. You must be talking about the real older people.
We got a couple of those out there too. Yeah. The real older people.
Yeah, but that's good though. I mean, since you've been doing these podcasts and everything and stuff, have you had any positive feedback from manufacturers? And the second part of that is, have you had any negative blowback from manufacturers because of what?
Well, let me think. So there's one other podcast that I do, which is called the Manifest Podcast. That's Fridays on my friend Drew's channel. He's a young kid. He's 16. And he has a lot of guys from the industry, a lot of guys from the different manufacturers come in. We did have Drayton from Scale Trains pop in. I believe it was on our second podcast. No, actually, it was our first podcast. He came in and wrote some encouraging comments. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback in the last couple of weeks from people saying that they really appreciated my podcast and that they think that I'm doing a good job with the podcast as well. So I don't want to make it sound like it's all been bad.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've seen your podcast and I've listened to them, and I've also seen your video, and I think that you're very respectful in the terms, but I think that I think you're right. I think you have I think we as model railroaders have an expectation of what, because now we do have sound and you're gonna put it on a steam engine. That doesn't mean that you just go randomly to the historical society and say, oh, blow that steam whistle. Right. So we can get a sound file on it and then put it on a steam engine that it doesn't match, because I get it. There's rivet counters that's not the steam. That's not the whistle and guys know that, but there should be somewhat expectation if I'm going to drop $400,
That's the thing. Like an example that I always give is like the Trix Big Boy. The Trix Big Boy is a beautiful model. This is an amazing model. But it's just like the whistle, and I've said this on my channel many times. The whistle on the Trix Big Boy sounds like a cow yelling, so it's just it doesn't sound like a big boy to me. I think that there's rivet counting, and then there's people that just want the sounds to be somewhat close. I don't have to have every train sound exactly sound exactly like the prototype. Quite frankly, I don't even know what most of the steam engines are supposed to sound like, but the ones that I do, I want a whistle that just looks like it matches that engine. I want it to look like it fits. Sure. And then on top of that, there's certain whistles that the quality is better. Just depending on what kind of decoders you get. And there's certain manufacturers that they'll unfortunately put the same sound file in a wide variety of engines, and it makes all their trains sound the same when really you want good variety. And I think that there are easy ways around that if those things are brought up and those things are addressed, if enough people voice, what they want. So
yeah. Dave, BNSF, and N-Scale. Hello, Dave. He wants to know, what part of the country are you from?
I am from Washington State. So I actually live in Spokane, Washington. So this Spokane, what is it? The SPN, Spokane, Portland, and Seattle. That railroad is right in my neck of the woods. The 700 has ran right through my town multiple times. So Great Northern, all that.
Oh, yes. And Eric Hall is asking Split Rock 323. What is the date you will be on? Who is Big Bill talking to? He says, I have my green crayon and I'm marking it in my calendar. Robert Holman replies, I'm in Yem, Washington, Yelm.
Okay, so Robert's not that far from me.
Right. This is the gentleman I was telling you about, his layout, his HO scale layout.
Ah, that's right. That's right. You did mention the other day.
Yeah, I was saying that. Split Rock says April 1st, 2067 is when it'll be on. I don't know if I'll be able to make that one, Split Rock. I might have to have my grandchildren fill in for that date at 2067. But I'd love to have you on, Split Rock. I really would. So it's 9:33 p.m. and we are speaking with, for guys that are coming in late, Clint Brantley. No relation to any of the baseball players or football players.
No,
not at all. Okay. So maybe we get a free autograph out of this or something.
No, I'm boring. I'm sorry. I'm just here for trains. So
that's it. Talking to Clint Brantley. Brantley, he's the has a YouTube channel called TheSteamKing. That's how you would say it, or what is it? TheSteamKing.
TheSteamKing.
TheSteamKing, all squished together.
Yes, sir.
And also the what was the original? 1937.
Railroad Kid 1937 is the original name.
Okay, so let's check that out. Randall Ellis says, "Hey, Big Bill, you should have seen the look on Clint and Drew's face when I said in the chat that Lowe's and Home Depot should be running for MTH's premier line steam tooling."
I remember that.
And Split Rock 3-2. What is on your workbench? Is there anything you're doing?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
What's on my workbench? So I just completed. I bought a Overland Models New York Central 2102H10. Just installed it with DCC and sound, TCS WOW sound, of course. My favorite steam decoder. That took me about a month, and it was a pain in the butt, but I got it done and I got it working. I fried a decoder to get it in there. I had to buy a second one. I'm waiting for one to come back, but that's what I just got done. But I think after that, I'm probably going to take a little break from doing a lot of train stuff. I got to move into my first place here pretty soon. But that was the last item I had on my workbench. And if you want to know what that looks and sounds like, I'll probably post a video of it soon on my channel. And there's also a little footage of it on the brass group on Facebook. So,
yeah, we have Brian Soanes come in. Hello, Clint. Hello, Bill, and everyone. Brian, I think Brian is from the Southern California, San Diego, where it's always 72 and sunny. I think this is right. I think it's your first time here, Brian. I have never seen you before. I've seen you. Brian is one of the guys that comes in on the late night after hours. You guys can participate in that too. Is Model Railroading Live. It's at 10 p.m. Guys get together. It's a freelance kind of get together thing. You can talk about everything and anything with model railroading and kind of like hang out with us and stuff. But Brian is a frequent flyer in that one too, so I've gotten to see them there, so you guys can come down. Let's see, what do we got here? Any questions we have? No. Hey guys, Troy P is in. Hey guys, checking in on you all.
What's up, Troy?
You know Troy?
No, I don't. But
okay. I thought you did. Troy's a great model railroad builder and a great modeler.
All right.
And he's also a golf disc enthusiast. He plays golf with the frisbee kind of thing.
Okay.
Split Rock 33323 wants to know, why do you prefer brass over newer plastic models?
I don't know if I necessarily prefer brass over newer plastic models. I think it kind of depends on what you're looking for. So, for example, the engine I just did, the H10A, the New York Central H10A, you're not going to get that in plastic, right? But brass tends to have more detail, even if you're getting engines that you can get in plastic. What it comes down to me is like my budget, right? How much am I willing to spend on a model? Normally $1,000. If I'm pushing 1,000, that's like my limit on how much I want to spend for them. Yeah. But that's not including if I have to put sound and all the lights and all that into myself. Like the last model probably ended up being closer to 12 or 1300 with everything being done.
That was that was brass.
Yes, that was a brass model, and I was up. I mean, there are at least 4 different nights where I was up till midnight working on it, trying to figure out why it kept shorting, what was going wrong, and it was just little simple things when you're doing stuff for the first time. But plastic's easier to deal with. I'll be quite honest with you. I've done a plastic install and a couple of brass installs. Brass installs are always a pain in the butt for me, but with time, I'll get used to it. But yeah, I think I don't necessarily prefer one over the other. It just depends on who's offering what in both arenas. So
right. So it would be depending upon if one is giving you more detail and it's a better looking engine, you'll go for the money and say, hey, let me get this brass one.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. What now? You yourself, since you said you're moving into a new apartment, you don't have a layout as of right now. Yes.
No, I don't have much of anything. I have a couple of modules from our old club, but outside of that, I don't have anything. Right now, kind of behind me, you can kind of see over there. That's my train shelf, just tucked away over in the back there. But outside of that, I don't have a layout. I'm not a member of a club right now. I'm kind of in a transitional phase of my life right now where trains aren't the most important thing. But I still am active in the hobby to a somewhat minor degree. So
no, Split Rock wants to know what brass models are you searching for next, and what is on your wish list?
Here's the thing, and I say this every time I talk about my collection. God's really blessed me in my life. I have pretty much just about every engine I wanted growing up. When I was watching Trains Unlimited with my grandfather. The next engine, though, I would probably want to purchase would be like a Southern PS4, a Pacifica 462. And then outside of that, maybe, I don't know, in brass. There's another consolidation type locomotive that I was looking at. I forget what the name of it is, but those are really the only two I have in the back of my mind, but that'll be way down the pipeline. I am looking forward to Broadway Limited's Santa Fe Mikado that they're coming out with in a couple of months here. That's a plastic model I'm looking forward to, and hopefully if they ever get around to it, they're Commodore Vanderbilt. So those two are the ones I'm really looking forward to the most.
Right. Michael Lambertini's just joined us. Hey, Mike. Mike, we're talking with Clint Brantley. He has a YouTube channel called TheSteamKing, and obviously he's a Steam enthusiast. He does like Steam, and he does HO scale,
Yes, sir.
So, and it comes, Troy says it comes down to what you like, what you're modeling and how bad you want it for your layout.
Yeah, my problem is I like everything.
Oh, who doesn't?
So it's like I understand. I now that I'm older, I understand why some people stick to a specific railroad because it kind of keeps you in check. See, I'll buy. I've got East Coast, West Coast, and everything in between. I'll buy anything that looks cool.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
We recently had we had a couple of model railroaders on who had model railroad specific layouts and where they northern Georgia and the Midwest, and even though if they liked the engine and if it was like a B&O, Baltimore and Ohio, they wouldn't buy it for their layout because it didn't fit they would stay away from it, which they said took a lot of willpower. Split Rock 33323 wants to know, have you ever wanted to join a Fremo?
So, okay, interesting story about Fremo. Actually, there is a local group in my area that the group that has the largest train club in our area. They actually have a Fremo layout that they put together at our local train show twice a year, and they invite a bunch of people from around our area as well, parts of Canada, and then other parts of the Northwest. People will come down. And it's a pretty big layout. I actually have footage of it on my channel, the TheSteamKing YouTube channel. any of the most recent running videos I have. So the Santa Fe 2, 1010-2, the MTH Triplex, any of those videos. Also this my MTH Allegheny, any of those videos, you'll see the Freemo layout on there. I've thought about doing Freemo. I think when I eventually buy a house of my own, which is what I'm saving up for right now, when I buy a house to myself, what I'll probably do is I'll probably do Freemo for a while. But my main goal eventually, way down the road, is when I'll do a stationary layout in my dream house or something. So,
well, that's good. That's good.
yeah.
What's the best thing you like about model railroading?
Oh man, I don't know if I could pick one thing. I love the history aspect of it. I think I've always loved history. I love also the artistic aspect of it. I was never good at really drawing or painting, but my grandfather, he was an artist. He used to do amazing drawings. He actually, he did a contest once and submitted a drawing for like a comic book company, and they wrote him back and they wanted him to draw for their company. They said that he could be a cartoonist. But my grandfather told me that he said I had a good eye for detail when it came to weathering.
Right.
He said that I was really good with weathering when it came to doing scenery, just creating scenes, basically three-dimensional art. I love that aspect of model railroading. And I also love the family and the communal aspect of it. I think it's a wholesome hobby. When I have kids one day, that's something I want to be able to share with them. So I think that it's just well-rounded hobby that anyone can really get into.
And on the same, before I ask, the next question is Eric Hall says, when I look at my O-scale stuff, it could and would be anything interesting, but for my layout for operations, it is under tighter error and location based, which is true. Yeah. Randall Ellis says, hey, Clint, the TheSteamKing, which of the more obscure steam locomotives would you like to see come to HO scale? I know chatting with you during Drew's podcast, I've mentioned Frisco's 1500 class loco.
More obscure steam locomotive. Man, you're really making me think right now. Gosh, I would really like, honestly, though this is the only one that can come to mind for me right now. I would really like that Commodore Vanderbilt to be produced by Broadway. That something, like that. I like the more gritty look of steam locomotives, but there's something to be for some of the designs of the streamlined locomotives.
Right.
I think a Commodore Vanderbilt is overdue.
Yeah. So. That's true. Adrian Gaston says, when we were previously talking about how some guys were selective in what they were going to run, they said, run all the railroads on your layout. It is just a model train layout. People should relax and enjoy.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that statement. When my dream layout, and I'll probably do a podcast on this in the future sometime, my dream layout is going to be everything. It's a giant what if steam still exists and you could run modern diesel and have just different scenes from different parts of the country. So
right. Split Rock wants to know, will your home layout be freelance or prototype?
It would be freelance. If I could do a home layout, it'd definitely be freelance.
Would it include operations?
Absolutely. It definitely include operations. I'd also want to bring my layout into the 21st century and have cameras pinpointed at different points in the layout and have it all hooked to a central hub to where I could live stream it and then broadcast the footage from the layout on Twitch. Or YouTube and have people watch it that way. So
we have one guy that Jack, I think is his screen name. He does that. He does live switching and live operations.
Oh, wow.
Usually catch him late at night, and stuff on a rebroadcast. Split Rock says someone needs to make a Northern Pacific A5 class Northerns.
I see. That'd be cool. That'd be neat.
I myself have never been a big steam guy, and I know. Don't throw. I know.
Oh my god! All right, it's been great, Bill, but I gotta go. No.
Well, yeah, that's why I waited till now to drop it on you. I didn't want to mention it 5 minutes into the show, and then I'd be talking to dead air for the rest of the night. But it's not anything detrimental. It's just I've always been a diesel guy because diesel. I mean, I like Steam. Don't get me wrong. I
Mhm.
do like Steam. Whenever I've gone, I had the pleasure of going to a years ago to a an exhibition in New Jersey, and they ran live Steam.
Mm.
And it's like everything else in life. You say you don't like hockey because you watch it on TV, and then you go to the game in life, real life, and you're
Mhm.
like, wow, this game is really something. I mean, these guys are moving. Look how fast
Yeah.
that guy's skating backwards, coming down the rink like that. What is he gonna
Mhm.
hurt himself? You know? And then you go and you go see this steam engine, and you're actually like you're standing next to a living thing. It's a living
Yeah.
thing. Whenever I go to Strasbourg, I'm always amazed. And my wife is of the same thing. My wife is very supportive of the hobby as well, with what I do and what I do, but it's neither here nor there. But whenever we went, the first time we went to Strasbourg, and I said, "Come on, let's take a ride on the steam engine. Let's take a
Mm.
ride on the train." "Oh, I don't know if I want it. No, come on." And then when she saw the steam engine, she was like so duly impressed. She actually said she got goosebumps
Yeah.
when the guy blew the whistle and you could hear it and the steam and the whole thing. There was just something magical about the whole thing.
The
You know?
steam locomotives. My mom and I were talking about this the other day. I don't like, just like you said, there's something magical about it, right? There's so many elements that go into a steam locomotive, and the crazy part is like each locomotive has character, right? Like you can take the same class of locomotive from every railroad, let's say Mikado, for example, and that will be a completely different engine depending on what railroad it is, from New York Central to Santa Fe to Great Northern. You won't get an engine that looks identical. And it's just this one of the many unique qualities of steam, I think, is that just its character for not just the engines, but each railroad's engines as well. So
Right, right. I'm trying to see as we were talking. Uh, Dwight at Northern Star says, "Heck, I even run some German locos on mine on his layout."
mm,
Uh, Split Rock. Eric Hall wants to know, and I guess Split Rock wants to know if your freelance layout would be in favor of yellow Alcos.
yellow Alcos.
I guess that's an inside joke between them.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess. Randall Ellis says, "I like Steam. I just can't afford most of them or run them on my layout."
Mm. Yeah, I always tell Drew and the other guys on the Manifest podcast, I'm like, if I took all the money that I paid for these steam locomotives and put them in diesels, I'd probably have twice as many diesels.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure. I'm
it's
sure.
insane. So
Dwight at Northern Star says, "I like Steam, but I also remember as a kid how smelly, dirty, and air polluting they were.
oh
I got
man.
I got smoke in my face many a time standing on the bridge watching them."
Well, Dwight, you know what they say, smoke only goes towards attractive people. So
Very good answer. Uh, yeah, Split Rock. See, Split Rock and Eric Hall are having it out now because Split Rock asked Eric Hall, "Do your steam engines have faces on them?"
only on Sodor.
Yeah, only on. Eric Hall wants to know, did he get the question yet about operations yet, or is he a visual modeler, or is he into actual look of equipment versus the operation of equipment?
I can answer that. It depends on my mood. Like I've done operations a handful of times, and I think that that's awesome in group settings. But my thing, what I personally enjoy, is just the beauty of each model. Appreciating running multiple trains and also taking a camera and getting the different camera angles, making the models look as real as possible. Depending on the scenery, the camera angles, the lighting, all that stuff. But I just love running trains, man. I do. That's really what it comes down to. Operations are great, and I would definitely, when I build a layout, I'll be definitely designing something that'll have operations. But I just love running trains. So.
That's good. I like running them myself. Split Rock wants to know, what is your favorite manufacturer of rolling stock freight passenger cars such as that?
What's crazy? when it comes to rolling stock, I don't really even think about it that much. My emphasis was always on locomotives. The rolling stock for me personally, it just complements. All it does is complement the centerpiece, which is your engine, right?
Right. That
But
is true. That is true.
But I will say this though, it's not like I want to pull. Like I understand the difference between like a lifelike or a Tyco tank car or
Right.
something, right? To compared to like a Walthers, Proto 2000 or like a Scale Trains. I think who was the Trix makes really good freight cars. Their cabooses are awesome. Like I have a really awesome Trix UP caboose. And other than that, Scale Train seems to make some really nice rolling stock, and MTH has done some nice stuff too. But I don't really focus on the rolling stock as much, unless it's maybe passenger cars. And for that, I like MTH and Broadway Limited for their passenger cars for what I run. So
Frank DeLauro says the leap in technology from the beginning of the 1940s to then end of that decade was tremendous for trains.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, are we talking real trains or model trains? Because I mean, both I guess would be impressive.
No, both. But now today in today's environment with all this climate change and everything, diesel engines are. Norfolk Southern has dropped a lot of money into their new new diesels where they run cleaner, much cleaner. And transport wise, Dwight at Northern Star wants to know: would it be possible to see one or some of your locos?
Yeah. What do you want me to do? You want me to pull the video up or pull something off the shelf, or what would you prefer?
Whatever easiest for you.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't I share something from? Let me see. I'll share a video from my channel. How about that?
Randall Ellis says you hit it on the head, Clint. The SteamKing. The cost of most steam locomotives is basically equivalent to 2 diesel locomotives.
But to me, it's quality over quantity. I just love steam, man.
The thing with steam and I know someone has collected all the heritage diesel engines. He went and spent a small fortune on it, and he has them in a beautiful display case that's well lit up, and it's like really nice. And he has a tremendous layout. And I said to him that when you take it out of the display case and you put it on the layout, and I've said this before on the channel, it no longer becomes the focal point of your railroad. It is the focal point of your railroad is now it's blended in with the rest of your layout.
Right.
You could have a $6,000 engine, put it out on the thing, and it goes along and it complements the layout itself and becomes part of the layout where people don't see the $6,000 engine. They'll see it, but they don't necessarily know that that's $6,000.
Right.
They just know it's an engine and it complements the rest of it. Whereas the steam locomotive, when it comes out of, you definitely know that's a steam locomotive, regardless of the price of it. It looks beautiful. It runs. It's mechanical. It's moving. There's a reason why guys stand that. Car washes have glass where you can stand. Did you ever notice that when you're at the car wash, there's always a bunch of guys staring at the mechanics of the brushes? Yeah, there's a reason for that, because that's how guys communicate. See, women, how women communicate? Women communicate. This is how women communicate. They sit at a table and they talk over coffee this way. You know how men communicate? Men communicate by standing shoulder to shoulder looking into a car engine.
Yep.
The deepest, I've seen it on my layout. Deepest, darkest secrets are explored in this layout by men who come to my layout that I know as personal friends. They'll tell you, this is what's going on in the job. Then afterwards, when you're at the kitchen, at the dining room table, having coffee and cake and pie, you go to continue the conversation, and they'll go, "Oh no, don't worry about it."
There's something to that. I will say this: when I was a member of my old train club, I would bring friends that weren't into trains down there. We would talk about life stuff,
Exactly.
It's I will tell you this, having a train layout, it's one of the most relaxing, comforting places to have like real life talks with people. I've
That's
taken
'cause you
so
don't have
many
to-
people down there.
That's because you're looking at the trains and you don't have to look at them. Once they sit down at the table and we're looking eye to eye to each other, I said, "So what's going on with the job?" Nah, don't worry about it. It's all right. I got it covered. But in the train room, they're like, because they're working and they're talking. That's how men communicate. That's how we
Right.
communicate.
Right.
Oh, okay. So here's your.
Yeah. So I had a few pictures. So this is my display shelf that's behind me there that you can't see because my room's dark. This is when I was first getting everything put in it. But here are a couple of my models. This is the MTH big boy. That's the Broadway. This is an Athearn Challenger down here, and this is I forget what company makes this. But this is a brass Santa Fe 2 1010 Here's another angle. You see some of my Transformers in the background there too. I haven't quite given up Transformers, but I'm not as into them as I used to be. But here's some more of the models, and then here's a bigger view of the shelf as a whole.
Is that a Union Pacific diesel in there?
Yes, there are 3 diesels that have made the cut for this shelf. They are they are the exception. I've got the Scale Trains turbine here. I've got the MTH Santa Fe Alco PAs, and then I've got the Broadway Limited Blue Line F7s. So, but other than that, all steam. Oh wait, no, there's a GG one here that's electric, so we'll let that one slide too. But other than that, it's all steam. So
okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway.
Randall Ellis says, I will say this. I'm extremely interested to see what Scale Trains does with the former MTH steam tooling and the price points of those locomotives.
I think they're going to sound phenomenal. I'm kind of excited for it. I'm going to have to buy all the MTH models that I had before. I'm just going to have to buy them all over again because I know Scale Trains is probably going to really... Because since the detail's already done, I think they're really just going to do up the sound and maybe some of the features. Maybe some firebox flickers or lighting option, cab lighting options or something. But I think they're going to be really nice. So
yeah. Drew Dude's Model Train says, I really hope Scale Trains produces a bunch of the GS glass locos. And Dwight says, let's face it, diesel will disappear. It too is very dirty and something else will take its place. Maybe electric or something we do not know yet about. Nuclear power.
Yeah, we actually talked about that on our podcast last week about nuclear powered steam locomotives. We had a good laugh at that. So.
And Eric Hall says, at one time I followed a guy that would buy original Lionel locomotives, still sealed in the original box. He would then open it like a fine wine, taking something that has been in the box of 50 plus years. Yeah. Mystic Southern Railway. Howdy, Bill and everyone. Hey, how are you, Mystic Southern Railway? We're talking with Clint Brantley. His channel is called TheSteamKing, and he also has a podcast. What's the name of the podcast again, Clint?
The Live Steam Live Stream Podcast. That's the name of the podcast.
And he talks about all things, not just SteamKing. He recently had an interview with James Wright over 2 hours and some minutes with James Wright. And it was a very good conversation. Who have some of the people who have you had on your show?
I've had 2 other guests. One of them was my friend Cameron, who also is part of I brought him onto the Manifest podcast on Drew's channel. He doesn't do a lot of YouTube content, but he knows a lot about Train Simulator, and we did a podcast on virtual model railroading, which is really interesting. And then the other person I brought on was my one of my best friends in the hobby, Adam Pomeranz. He's the owner of the brassbasement.com. He was the one who actually got me into brass and actually helped me come up with the name TheSteamKing. Yes, it was actually thanks to him. We were talking one day. He's like, well, Clint, you are the Steam King since you keep buying all these models. I'm like, that's kind of dope name. I might roll with that. So kind of went from there. So
the second thing I wanted to ask you was the best thing. What's the worst thing you do not like about model railroading? And
what's the worst thing I don't like about model railroading?
Well, not so. I let me rephrase that. What's one thing that you're not too happy with?
I think I think here's the thing. This is what I've noticed recently as I've gotten older. There seems to be a darker side to model railroading, believe it or not. And I saw hints of this back in my days in the train club, but I think that there's a certain level of jealousy that people can have for you. Um, I think that it's kind of sad. I've seen it here on YouTube with bigger content creators. I've seen it in my personal life, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of off-putting how some people in the hobby can just like they come from a place of resentment rather than a place of love, and that's really what this hobby was initially designed for in the first place.
And support.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're saying. I understand. I hear you. I had a conversation with another content creator once, and the conversation turned around about competition and competing channels. And I said to him, in regards to our channel, MRL, I said, well, I don't think there's any competition. And he took it the wrong way. He took it like,
oh, yeah, that you can't compare to us kind of a thing.
Yeah, we're the be all to the end all. And I was like, and I had to explain it because I immediately, when I said it, as soon as it rolled out of my mouth, I knew that's how they were going to take it. He was going to take it. So I said, no, that's not what I mean. I don't mean that we are that and all that and a bag of chips, that there is no competition because we are not here to compete with you, and you shouldn't be competing with us because what we're here to do is give you content. We may both do the same thing. We may have a show on weathering a box car, and some guy will watch both shows, but he's gotten something out of each of the show. It's not exclusively us. It's not exclusively you. We're here to promote the hobby and expand it, because you got to remember 25 years ago, YouTube wasn't around. So now you have the advent of video. Now you have the advent of other platforms, Twitter, Instagram, all that other social platform, for whether they're being under attack by big technology, whatever. The technology has, I think, has benefited model railroaders, war military guys, RC guys, RC planes, RC cars. I think it has absolutely exploded. And especially in model railroading, we're getting those guys out of the basement. We're coming out of the basement. Because that's where most layouts were, basement and attics. And you want to, you're getting them out. So, I understand what you're saying about jealousy and envy. And it's like, there's no reason for it, guys. Come on, we can do this.
And that's the thing. It's just like there's so much room for everyone to eat in this hobby. Like this is what people have to understand, especially when you're making content. If James does a review of an engine, right, and I do a review of the same engine, people will want to watch us both because we're gonna have a different opinion, a different perspective on the same model. Like my channel, when I do reviews, I typically tend to focus on the sounds more, and James focuses on like a more overall approach, generalized view of everything. But he really goes into the details. So just find a niche and focus on that, and have people come because of your personality. It doesn't have to be a competition between everybody.
Right, you're exactly right. And I think I compare it to a buffet table. You go to the buffet table, you're not going to eat everything and gorge on everything. You take what you need and then leave the rest, and you go away. And then when you get, okay, let me go back. Like you said, there's different things, different folks, and just the fact that we're doing this and bringing it out to the public and it's being broadcasted. Mojave Model Railroad. Hey, Tina.
Oh, wow. Mojave Model Railroad's in the house. All right.
Yeah, Tina. Remember Howard Stern had more people who hated him listening and for more hours. You're absolutely right. He did. Howard was my guy. I liked Howard when he was with WNBC. Used to like to listen to him. I'm trying to get Mojave Model Railroad Tina on my show, but she has a tremendous work schedule. I think she mentioned sometime in June she'll be more, there'll be more time opened up. I do hope so, because she has a really great channel. And she's, I'm always asked to leave the buffet, Split Rock 323. I'm going to tell you, this is not a model railroading story. This is for married guys. You know how guys, when you go to a wedding, you get invited to a wedding, and what do they usually have at the dinner? They usually have chicken and prime rib. Right?
Do they? What kind of wedding do you go to? Can I go? Can I go to the next one? We had salad at the one I went to.
Well, when you're out west, New York weddings are different. New York weddings are different. It's usually prime rib or chicken dinner.
God bless y'all. That sounds amazing.
Now I have a wife who's not a real eater. She likes to eat, but she's my wife's the same weight she was when she was when we got married. She was 21, I was 20. She's still 115 pounds. God bless her. So when we go to weddings, she'll order the prime rib and I'll order the chicken. Now I'll give her my chicken, but she won't eat all the chicken. I know she won't eat all the chicken, so I'll eat what she does because I'm a big guy. I'm a fat guy. So one night we're at this wedding. We went to this wedding and she ordered the prime rib. So the guy next to her, sitting on her right-hand side, left-hand side, me sitting next to her, the guy said, "This prime rib is like off the charts. It's off the hook. I've never had prime rib like this." Right. Frank says, "Always get the prime rib." Because basically you paid for it anyway. Because gift, So my wife gives the prime rib. She says, "I'm not going to eat this. Would you like it?" And the guy said, "Yeah." We had the biggest fight. I was like, "You broke the married rule. You don't give the prime rib to someone you met at a wedding. You give it to me, your husband."
Right?
And she was like, "No, the guy really wanted. He was hungry." I said, "I don't care how hungry he was.
What if I'm hungry still?"
Right, okay, exactly.
I had chicken. Okay.
I said I had the chicken. You see that ring? That means it's me and you, baby.
You're coming home with me tonight.
That's
okay,
right. Not him. I mean, we laugh about it now, but it was like one of those pivotal moments.
Mr. Bill, I could ask you a question. Something I'm curious about. Since you brought up the subject of marriage, you seem to have a really awesome wife. I want to ask you, how important is it to have an amazing partner to be able to truly enjoy your hobby? How important is that?
My personal feeling is I think that it's very important because it's part of what you are about. It's part of what you have in your life. My wife is tremendously supportive in this hobby, to the point of where I have the innate ability to have a low self-esteem about myself in projects that I start. And my wife is always there to tell me, "You got this. You know what you're doing." And I don't go out on a spending spree. Usually I have money budgeted since now we're on a fixed income. But I think it's very important to have it because it creates a peaceful environment. It's one where that's a good question, Clint. That is a very good question. I make these videos. The other reason for making these videos is this is in perpetual memorial. Because someday I'm not, Bill, she's the best. Bill definitely married up. Someday I'm going to be called home one day, and if she's still around, she'll have these always to see and to know how much we're married 47 years. There were people who said you get rid of this guy. He's a bum. He's no good. He's not worth it. Get rid of him now while you can. Move on. You'll have a better life. Yeah. But that 115-pound woman, she grabbed me by the scruff of my neck. She said, "He's worth it. I'm going to keep him." And she did. So she's very supportive of this. She's very interested. She enjoys. She absolutely loves John Mitchell, the director of the show. She really does. She thinks he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. She really enjoys his sense of humor, and she's a very outgoing woman, and she's one of the, and she's good looking too. That helps. I'm just, but I think it's important to have someone in your life that supports you in your endeavor, whatever the hobby is, and is supportive. And when it goes wrong, yes, 47 years, Tina.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, it is. And And John Bananek says, my wife knew I was into trains before we got married. We have been married over 37 years. Congratulations and
That's
God
awesome
bless.
as well.
Bill
That's
and I
amazing.
both married smarter people than us, Dwight. Yes, you are absolutely right. Absolutely. But
One thing I used to always do when I was younger, when I had unlimited access to the train club, the girls that I was talking to back in high school, I would always take them to the train club with me. And that was to kind of gauge how they reacted, because if they had a negative reaction, normally it didn't last very long. And the ones that had a more positive reaction, they lasted like maybe a couple of days longer. They didn't last either. But the point is, always thought that I was important to kind of share that and kind of bring that to them to see kind of how do you feel about it? Because this is my favorite hobby.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. When I was growing up in New York with dating, if the girl's number was like 4, you got to remember too, we didn't have cell phones. We had rotary type.
That's a blessing. Just as a heads up, cell phones suck for dating, so it does not make things easier.
Yeah, well, if you met a girl and your number was like 499-9292, you'd never call her because to dial it would be like 499. No, that's too long. And girls I wouldn't date if they were geographically unacceptable, meaning if they didn't live in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I ain't getting on a bus.
Yeah.
Or a train to come see you. But my wife happened to live in Bensonhurst. I met her at the library.
Wow.
Yeah, I met her at the library. I wasn't there to study. I was there looking got a job there, and she was my supervisor. So and she lived in Bensonhurst. Anyway, where are we? Oh, Clint says Split Rock 332 says you should have talked about getting married, owning a home. Then they would be interested in you instead of talking about trains.
Listen, when you're in high school, all right, for some reason that's the last thing.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Split Rock says they called you a bum, Bill. Your parents should have been more supportive. My parents was supportive. It was the other people in my life that weren't, Well, I was a real knucklehead. That's for another show at another time, my personal life. But that was a good question, Clint. And I do, just to top it off, yeah, she's very supportive. She's very much into it as well. And she enjoys. And she's always, like, what's going on in the hobby? Who did you talk to today? Like tonight, after this is over and I go and we have some tea together, tea and animal crackers, she'll go, so how was this guy Clint? Was he nice? Good? Was he a good boy? I said, yeah, he was a good boy, Odie. Tina says, that's it. I'm going to start a model railroading dating site on my website called On the Right Track. That's it. That's the way to go, Tina.
I dig it.
That's the way to go. Yep, On the Right Track. That you probably make millions of dollars. $1 million. Yeah, you're probably right. Well, Clint, it's time for us to say goodnight, goodbye, adios, arrivederci, ciao, and whatever else comes to mind. I want to thank you so very, very much being on the show. This was Clint Brantley, ladies and gentlemen. He has his own YouTube channel called TheSteamKing and the podcast called, what's it called again?
The live stream podcast, typically every Saturday on the TheSteamKing channel.
What time?
So, 5:00 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, good. So it was great having you on, Clint.
It was an honor to be on, sir. I thank you so much. I appreciate this.
And again, my apologies to 2 other guests that we were supposed to have. We were supposed to have Sir Rod Stewart on, and Lionel Strand was going to appear. But since we ran out of time talking to Clint, my apologies to both you gentlemen. We'll try to get you in on the next show. Next show, we're going to have M&M, Michael, and I forget. Oh, Michael.
Maurice?
Michael and Michelle. They're a married couple out of the Midwest who are doing their N scale. Married couple that are doing an N scale. They'll be on next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I hope you guys wrote down that Johnny's Train Talk Show will be on April 7th and the 21st. That's Johnny's Train Talk Show, where you too can be a part of the community if you have a web camera and a good microphone and internet where you can come in and say hello, bring in brag if you want to take something along, and be a part of the show. In other words, come on down to Johnny's Train Talk Show, pull up a chair, grab a soda out of the ice box, and sit down and shoot the breeze with everybody. Until next time, you guys stay well, stay safe, and most of all, be blessed, and we'll see you guys on the radio.